What's up guys, Conrad here with another video, and today I would like to reflect upon my visit to Porto in Portugal. Now this isn't exactly a recent trip, in fact it's going back over a year now, but I just wanted to reminisce on some of the pleasant memories and highlights of my overall experience there. And so I feel that this city in fact is special enough in order for me to give it the proper shout out it deserves. Now I know the word underrated gets thrown around a lot these days when it comes to travel destinations, and so the question is, does Porto fall into this category? Well, I think it's starting to get even more recognition from world travelers, especially due to popular travel content creators showing us more of what we're missing out on, proving to us that sometimes it's the second largest or second most popular city that actually gives you the vibe you're looking for. So the average dude who doesn't really know too much about Porto could be like, yeah, it's a small town with a bridge, right? Like a small port city, myself included. But of course I was mistaken, and I've come to discover that it's in fact so much more than just that. Not only is Porto a vibe, Porto is the vibe. And honestly, I think I actually prefer it to Lisbon. You see, I liked Lisbon, but I loved Porto. Lisbon is more cosmopolitan, more spread out, and has a more generally Mediterranean feel, whilst Porto is more laid back, intimate, and more traditionally Portuguese. At least that's my personal impression of these cities. It's about how a city makes you feel and how much you enjoy the experience of simply walking around and exploring the streets. Porto's significance as a port city lies in its strategic location at the mouth of the Douro River, near the Atlantic Ocean, making it a key hub for trade and maritime activities since Roman times. Its port facilitated the export of goods like textiles, olive oil, and most famously, port wine. During the Age of Discovery, it contributed to shipbuilding and exploration. The city's connection to the Douro Valley's vineyards and its role in the port wine trade established Porto as a major economic centre, linking Portugal to global markets and shipping its cultural and historical legacy. I'd consider Porto to be what I'd call a hangout city, almost like a chill-out hub if you will, a place to get away from your more modern and chaotic metropolitan environments. You know how people would be like, I want to hang out in Barcelona or Amsterdam for the weekend. Let loose a bit. I'd say Porto definitely qualifies as one of those places. A hangout city is like what Nice is to Paris or what San Diego is to Los Angeles. I don't typically think of a hangout city to be places like Berlin, Dubai or Detroit. At least not specifically just to relax. Yeah, obviously you can do that, but those wouldn't be my personal first choices. And so what qualifies as a good hangout city? Well, it's somewhere I'd say that's not too large, not too crowded, but has a rich cultural heritage and accommodates a more relaxed lifestyle whilst also being relatively affordable. So it welcomed the cool and hip tourists and not so much mass tourism. There's a youthful vibrance about Porto that I love. A place where anywhere in the city is a good spot to sit outside a restaurant, rather than a place that makes you take the metro, which takes like 40 minutes in order to get to a particular food court or area, and so you need to pass by a whole load of corporate skyscrapers and apartment blocks. So walkability is a major factor. I was in Porto during the month of October, which was actually perfect for me as the weather was warm but not blazingly hot. As soon as I came out of my Airbnb and stepped out onto the streets, I could feel the breeze of the river up ahead and the fresh air, I immediately got the feeling of, yeah, this is one of those special places. A city with a strong visual identity right off the bat, which boasts Portuguese flamboyance and genuine character. I just love the architecture here. It has so much flair to it, especially with the iconic blue and white tiling you can see across certain areas throughout the city. They are what's known as azulejos, which are the traditional Portuguese ceramic tiles, often painted in blue and white, that decorates buildings, churches and public spaces throughout Porto. These tiles, rooted in Moorish artistic traditions, evolved in Portugal to depict religious scenes, historical events and everyday life. The blue and white palette became popular in the 17th and 18th centuries, inspired by Chinese porcelain, symbolizing spirituality, elegance and serenity. The city invokes serenity without sterility. You got the cobblestone streets, mixed in with a lot of neoclassical, medieval Baroque architecture. Every street is a pleasure to walk around, and so it wastes absolutely no time in immersing you in its architectural beauty. It just feels alive. Some parts even reminded me of a 1950s Havana, kind of like you're stepping back in time, which just makes it all the more charming. I think a promenade, alongside bars and restaurants, are essential to a great hangout city. And so in this case we have the Ribeira district, alongside the Douro River. This is probably the main attraction that comes to mind when most people think of Porto. And of course the magnificent Dom Lewis Bridge. What a sight! The bridge is made of wrought iron, a common material for engineering projects of the late 19th century. The upper deck stands about 45 meters above the Douro River, offering spectacular panoramic views. The bridge was constructed between 1881 and 1886. It was designed by Théophile Seyrig, a Belgian engineer who was a student and partner of Gustave Eiffel, the famed designer of the Eiffel Tower. You can definitely see some similarities in regards to its construction. Even saw people jumping off the bridge into the water. No, not people trying to end themselves, but generally young guys in their swimming trunks trying to impress their friends or general onlookers. Pretty brave of them, I must say. Is it safe? Well, if the water wasn't deep enough, then I suppose, people would stop jumping by now. But just to clarify, this only occurs on the bottom deck. The bridge connects the heart of the city of Porto, the northern side, which is the more urban and densely packed side, to the southern side or south bank, known as Vila Nova de Gaia. A bit quieter and more relaxed, often associated with its legacy as the hub for port wine production. It feels more modern in parts, but retains a strong connection to tradition through its wine cellars and riverfront charm. Lots of fun and entertainment to be enjoyed here, as well as a walkable promenade. It's a bit of an adventure to reach the top of the hill where you can just sit on the grass and enjoy the live music, as well as a stunning view of the city. Jardim do Moro, also known as the Garden of the Hill. It's also fun to take a cable car up there as well. Sometimes it turns into a little bit of a party where the locals can get to know each other and the younger crowd can just kick it and have a good time. This is the spot to go to when the sun starts to set. just a heads up, you may get an odd whiff of good old Mary Jane around the corner, so you know that everyone's chill levels are close to sub-zero. So if you happen to be part of the stoner community, all I would say is use your discernment and perhaps check the specific laws and regulations regarding this particular activity, because unfortunately I'm not an expert.
Stop the cap!
I must say it's also a very musical city, with plenty of talented musicians jamming around different areas, bringing even more life to the city. So unfortunately I missed the most beautiful bookstore in the world, Livraria Lello. Because unlike most bookstores, you can't just show up, walk inside and check out the books at your own leisure. Why? Well, because literally everyone else in the city wants to do the same thing. Mainly because of its uniquely magical Harry Potter aesthetic on the inside, even though the author J.K. Rowling herself claims she has never even been there and that it has nothing to do with her inspiration for Hogwarts. Yet it still attracts many die-hard Harry Potter fans just because of the mere connotation and myth with it being associated with the franchise. Unintentionally, I might add. So there are really long queues outside onto the streets, which is why it's probably best to book tickets in advance. I'd say Porto at night is when the city really starts to come to life and become even more vibrant. Not excessively chaotic, but just a cool and mature atmosphere, with just the right amount of energy. If you'd like to take a bit of a break from the city, then I'd recommend checking out Parque de Cidade, filled with beautiful lakes and ponds to enjoy. And may I also suggest Foz do Douro, where the Douro River meets the Atlantic Ocean. It's a scenic and upscale neighborhood in Porto known for its coastal promenades and sandy beaches. Its location provides stunning ocean views, making it a popular spot for jogging, swimming, and enjoying the seaside atmosphere. So let's talk about the food of Porto for a minute. I'd say it definitely has a strong food culture, and so they're really into their sardines and port wine here. And of course I have to mention one of the most visited restaurants here, and that is McDonald's. The most elegant McDonald's I have ever seen. And why is the architecture here so grandiose? Well, this building was originally a high-end cafe called Cafe Imperial, which opened in 1936. It was a symbol of sophistication and grandeur, popular for its stylish Art Deco interiors, and as a cultural hotspot for locals. When McDonald's opened in 1995, the company decided to preserve much of the building's historic features, blending modern fast food service with traditional elegance, making it feel more like a classic European cafe rather than a fast food joint. But why though? It just seems so random. It's like the most elegant book cover you've ever seen, decorated with gold and real diamonds, but the contents of the book is 50 Shades of Grey. I think we could do a little bit better than that. But hey, it's a pretty amusing novelty. So first we have the iconic Francesania, a dense calorie explosion. If I need something to eat in order to keep me going for the whole day, and perhaps even the day after that, this is what I would choose. Portuguese comfort food at its finest. It's a hearty sandwich made with layers of bread, steak, sausage, and sometimes ham, all covered in a rich melted cheese. and then smothered in a spicy tomato-based sauce. And may I suggest you also down your food with a Super Bock beer, Porto's heritage beer. Really crisp and refreshing, I must say. Let's go through some more local street foods and traditional dishes. Tripas a modo de Porto, a traditional dish from Porto made with tripe, cow's stomach, and a variety of meats like pork, sausages and beans. It's cooked in a rich, flavorful stew and seasoned with spices. Yeah, the cow's stomach was definitely an acquired taste, shall we say. Bifana sandwich, a Portuguese sandwich consisting of thin slices of marinated pork, typically sauteed in garlic, white wine and spices. Served on soft bread roll, it's a popular street food, often enjoyed with mustard or spicy peri-peri sauce. Sanjes de pernil, another kind of sandwich consisting of slow roasted pork shoulder. Cachainhos, aka hot dogs. And for dessert, aletria, made with vermicelli noodles, cooked in milk, sugar and egg yolks, flavoured with cinnamon and lemon zest. It has a creamy texture and is typically served cold, decorated with a cinnamon pattern. Pastel de nata. Well, that's standard really. What's more to be said? Delicious custard tarts. This place reinvigorated my obsession with them to the point that I'm still searching for the best made pastel de nata in places other than Portugal. So overall, I had a great time in Porto. However, there was a slight issue in regards to my trip back to London. So I was just about to board my plane and they make us wait for like 20 minutes on the stairs leading to the plane itself. And then there was an announcement that we now had to return to our gates because subsequently the flight just got cancelled randomly. And then we soon discovered that this was because back at Luton Airport there was a fire, a car park fire to be exact. So the story goes that a Range Rover caught fire due to an electrical fault or component failure in the car's engine bay, which apparently happened once the car reached the 3rd floor, thus setting the whole car park on fire, destroying 1,352 vehicles. Fortunately, there were no fatalities. You know, accidents happen, it is what it is. So back at Porto's airport, we're just waiting on what to do during this unusual situation, as the staff are just as confused as all the travellers are. So after many hours of waiting, around 1:30 AM, they offered passengers a basic hotel about 40 minutes away from the airport, which had people form a long line in order to put their name on the list. And in the end, I couldn't really be asked and just decided to rough it out and try my best to sleep on a metal bench, which was just about as comfortable as it looked. And after a really rough sleep, I'm still waiting for answers in regards to when the next flight to Luton could actually be. And now I'm waiting at the terminal gates until around 2 PM in the afternoon. But at least I was offered a voucher and got myself some free pastel de nata. So yeah, it was quite an interesting wait overall. I mean, you start chatting with other passengers who are also waiting for the same flight and getting to know them, perhaps even have a drink with some of them, and just laugh about the absurdity of the whole situation. I mean, what else are you gonna do? Because everyone is stuck in this predicament together. Sometimes these things happen when you're traveling, and so this was my first time experiencing a true flight cancellation due to highly unfortunate events. So finally I was able to board the plane roughly around 3 PM in the afternoon. Arrived in Luton and managed to catch a glimpse of the burnt down car park. At first it was rumoured, or at least I believed it was a Tesla that caught fire, and that the fire was so difficult to put out due to it being powered by lithium-ion batteries. But reports say otherwise. So I was ready to place some unfair blame on Elon Musk and perhaps try to get him to provide all the passengers with boxes filled with pastel donatas, just to cheer everyone up a bit. So yeah, when you're traveling, you're gonna experience interesting stories and situations that unintentionally become the highlight of your trip. And so overall, I definitely recommend you check out Porto, especially if you can't decide whether you want to visit Italy or Spain and you're really craving some of that old town feel. It never left me feeling underwhelmed or thinking like, I think I kind of completed this city already, so I guess now I'm ready to head back to the airport. I'd even go as far as to say that it had many of the best aspects of Lisbon, but encapsulated into a more compact city. So I'd say it really left a more vibrant and powerful impression on me. And so with that being said, hopefully you found this video interesting or informative. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.